Hey everyone, this is 8-Bit Flashback, and today we're going to be repairing an original Nintendo Entertainment System. And if you owned original NES, then you're probably very familiar with the blink and red light problem. You put the cartridge in like normal, push the power button, and you get that blinking red light. So what do you do to fix it? You blow in the cartridge, and somehow that magically works. No, it doesn't. Sometimes you just get lucky when you blow in the cartridge. The best trick is just to barely push the cartridge in to where it's actually scraping when you push it down. And with this trick, I usually have the best luck, but if that doesn't work, go ahead and blow in that cartridge another 100 times, and maybe it might work. I can remember countless times when I was younger that I'd get so frustrated trying to get my Nintendo to work that I just want to throw this thing across the room. But calm down, don't throw that Nintendo. I got a couple different ways we can fix this and stop that blinking red light problem. So here's option 1. We can replace the 72-pin connector. That's usually the source of that blinking red light problem. What happens is those pins get bent, and then your cartridges don't make contact with the NES anymore. So we can replace that 72-pin connector and make our Nintendo operate like it did on day one. And I got this from Banggood.com for only $6.99 shipped to my door. And if you're interested in getting one of these, I'll post a link down below with a 10% off coupon so you can get this just a little bit cheaper. And here's option 2. You can use a Game Genie. You can get a Game Genie for about $12 on eBay, and what's nice about these is you don't have to push the cartridge down, so you can bypass that blinking red light. And on top of that, the Game Genie by itself is already a really cool device. It allows you to use cheat codes, glitch codes, enhancement codes. If you're a huge NES fan like me, then you should get one of these. The downfall to the Game Genie is it looks really dumb when it's inside your Nintendo. It sticks out, and it doesn't allow you to close the lid. So let's go ahead and hook this up to the TV and we'll test how it works. So you want to go ahead and hook your cartridge to your Game Genie, then we want to insert it in the slot, and the first time you push your Game Genie in, it's going to be really tight. You're going to have to push pretty hard to get it in all the way. Now I'm on the Game Genie menu, and I'm going to enter a couple codes. This is for Rad Racer. One is to go super fast, and the other one's to have some extra time. And you don't have to use a code, you can just start the game without a code. I'm just doing this for an example. So instead of 45 seconds, I got 187 seconds, and now I can accelerate all the way to 255 kilometers an hour right away. But when I'm going super fast like that, it's insanely hard to control. Alright, let's go ahead and try another game out. So what we're going to do is leave the Game Genie inside the Nintendo, and then just swap cartridges. So now I'm going to try DuckTales out. I'm going to power it up, and I'm not going to enter any codes, I'm just going to start the game. So this is a nice easy way without having to do any modifications to bypass that blinking red light problem. But if you want to fix the actual problem with the Nintendo, then it's time to replace that 72-pin connector. So you want to start with flipping your Nintendo upside down, and that's going to give you access to 6 screw holes, located right here. And these are just Phillips head screws, so you just need a smaller Phillips screwdriver. Once all the screws are loosened, you should be able to remove the bottom from the top. Then we can grab the top and set that aside. We don't need that for now, we'll just put that out of the way. Now we're going to go ahead and flip the bottom half back over, but we want to be careful not to lose any of the screws. There should be 6 different screws, so you want to make sure you get all of them accounted for. And if they don't fall out, go ahead and push them out. Now it's time to remove the shield, and I believe this is just an RF shield. And there's going to be 7 screws on this. There's going to be 3 on this side, 2 on the opposite side, and then 2 on the top. And for my NES, these are just Phillips head screws too. Now I'm going to remove the shield and set it to the side. Now it's time to remove the cartridge holder screws on this black piece right here. So there's going to be 3 screws on each side of this. And you want to pay attention with these screws right here because the middle screw is just a little bit longer on both sides. So you want to make sure it goes back together the same way. Now we need to remove 2 screws located by the power and audio ports. One located right here and the other one right here. So let's go ahead and remove both those screws. Now the entire circuit board should be loose, so I'm going to just barely pull up the front of it so I can remove the cartridge holder. And to remove that cartridge holder, that's going to slide forward towards the front of the Nintendo. Now it's time to remove that 72-pin connector that's located right here and replace it with the new one. So to remove it, I'm just going to use my thumbs here and push towards the back of the Nintendo with a good amount of force because it's on there pretty tight. And there's also some shielding that's on the bottom of the circuit board, and that might get in the way. You might have to push that down to get that 72-pin connector off. And once you have that removed, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and clean all these contacts located right here. You can use just a small amount of rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. That works pretty well. Now it's time to install our new 72-pin connector. So what we want to do is hold one side of the circuit board firmly, then on the other side we want to push that connector nice and even onto the circuit board. And this should be a pretty tight fit, so it's going to require a decent amount of force. And you want to be careful as you're pushing that new 72 pin connector in place not to bend any of the pins. Alright, that new 72 pin connector is installed, and now I'm going to line up my shielding that's on the bottom of the circuit board here. It came off alignment when I pulled it apart there. So that shielding only goes on one way, so it's really easy to put back together. And it may be necessary, if your circuit board's really dirty, you might just have to go ahead and pull this shielding off all the way and go ahead and clean everything really good before you put it back together. For my Nintendo, I had this apart recently, so everything's pretty clean, so I'm not going to worry about that step. Now it's time to put the cartridge holder back on, so I'm just going to tilt the front of the board up just a little bit. That way I can slide this cartridge holder back in place. And when you slide it back in place, it should line up with those 6 screw holes. And you want to be careful when you put that circuit board back in place, make sure none of the wires are being pinched. Now it's time to install those screws by the power and audio port. There's 2 screws. Now we're going to put the screws on the cartridge holder. There's going to be 6 screws for this. And remember, those middle screws were the longer screws. Now it's time to put back on the RF shield, and there's going to be 7 screws that hold this on. And I've heard this shield is useless, but I'm just going to put it back on just to keep it complete. Now it's time to go ahead and put that lid back together. So we're going to slide that on, then flip it over. And then there should be 6 screws to install, and we're just going to drop those inside the hole. And we're all done now. That wasn't so bad. All we got to do now is test it out. So I should just be able to put a cartridge in like normal now with no special tricks and power it on, and it should work. And since it's new, it is a little bit harder to push that cartridge in. There we go. It seems to be working fine. I'm going to go ahead and check one more game, make sure I just didn't get lucky. And it's working fine. Well, there we go. That's 2 different ways to fix that blinking red light problem. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. If you liked that video, please click the like button. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe. And if you want to see more of my videos, just click any of these links. And if you want to help support my channel, you can now find me on Patreon. I'll be doing some behind the scenes videos, talking about upcoming projects, and all kinds of other stuff. Alright guys, see you later.